If you're collecting CPP, OAS, or GIS right now, or you're getting close to that point in your life, there's a new increase that just landed, a tax threshold that could quietly shrink your payment, and an annual reset that decides how much GIS you actually get for the next 12 months. If you don't know these numbers, you could be leaving money on the table, or worse, getting caught off guard by a clawback you didn't see coming. Let's break it all down. Hey everyone, welcome back to Frank Canada Today. I put these videos together because every quarter, every year, something changes with CPP, OAS, or GIS. And honestly, most people only find out when their deposit looks different than they expected. Today I want to walk you through exactly what's new, the confirmed OAS increase that just took effect, what's happening with GIS, where CPP stands heading into a big milestone year, and the income thresholds you need to watch so you're not surprised by a smaller payment down the road. Let's get into it. Let's start with old age security, because this is the one that just changed. OAS is reviewed every quarter, in January, April, July, and October, based on the Consumer Price Index. For the July to September quarter, Service Canada confirmed a 1.2% increase, which is actually the biggest quarterly bump of the year so far. That brings the maximum monthly OAS pension to about $751.97 for seniors aged 65 to 74 and $827.17 for seniors 75 and older. If you're on a partial pension because you have fewer than 40 years of Canadian residency, that same 1.2% still applies, just proportionally to your smaller base amount. This new rate started with the July 29th deposit, so if you're comparing it to your June payment, that's exactly why the number looks a little higher now. Now, here's something just as important that lands on the exact same date, the annual GIS reset. Every July, Service Canada recalculates your guaranteed income supplement eligibility and amount.
Based on your most recently completed tax return, which for this cycle means your 2025 income. So even if your OAS went up by 1.2%, your GIS could move in a completely different direction depending on how your income changed year over year. If your income went down in 2025 compared to 2024, you might actually see a bigger GIS increase than expected. If your income went up, even from something like selling an investment or a one-time payout, your GIS could shrink, sometimes by more than the OAS increase adds. For a single senior with very low income, GIS can be worth over $1,000 a month, so this reset genuinely matters. If your July payment looks different than you expected, this reset is almost always the reason why, and it's worth logging into your My Service Canada account to see the breakdown between your OAS and GIS amounts. Let's talk about the clawback, because this trips up more people than you'd think, especially those with decent retirement income from RIFs, pensions, or investments. This is officially called the OAS recovery tax, and it kicks in once your net individual income crosses a certain threshold. For the period running from July 2026 through June 2027, that threshold is based on your 2025 income, and it sits at roughly $93,454. Every dollar you earn above that gets you docked 15 cents of OAS. If your income is high enough, that clawback can eventually reduce your OAS all the way down to zero. There's also a separate, slightly higher threshold that applies specifically to your 2026 income, which will determine your clawback for the following cycle. If you're anywhere close to these numbers, especially if you're planning a large RIF withdrawal, selling a rental property, or taking a lump sum from a pension, it's worth talking to a financial or tax professional before you do it, because the order in which you draw down different income sources can make a real difference in how much OAS you actually keep. Now, let's shift to CPP, because 2026 is actually a milestone year for the plan. The CPP enhancement that began back in 2019 is now fully phased in. What that means practically is that the plan is designed to eventually replace a third of your average lifetime earnings, up from the original quarter, and that extra coverage now applies to a wider band of income than ever before. There are two earning ceilings that matter here. The year's maximum pensionable earnings, sitting at $74,600 this year, and a second higher ceiling called the year's additional maximum pensionable earnings, which sits at $85,000. Income between those two numbers is subject to a second layer of contributions, sometimes called CPP2, which funds that enhanced portion of your future benefit. If you're still working and contributing, this means slightly higher deductions on your paycheck if you're a higher earner, but it also means a meaningfully larger CPP payment when you eventually retire. For someone starting their retirement pension this year at the full amount, The maximum monthly CPP payment is around $1,507.65, though most people receive less than the maximum because it depends on your full contribution history. One thing worth repeating, because it makes a real difference for anyone still deciding when to start their pension. Both CPP and OAS reward patience. If you delay CPP past age 65, your payment increases by about 0.7% for every month you wait, which adds up to a possible 42% increase if you wait all the way until age 70. OAS works similarly if you delay past 65. Your payment keeps growing the longer you wait, up to age 70. If you don't need the income immediately and you're in reasonably good health, running the numbers on delaying could genuinely pay off over the long run. On the flip side, if you need the income now, that's a completely valid choice too. This isn't about one right answer. It's about knowing your options. So let's bring this all together. OAS just went up 1% for the July to September quarter, pushing the maximum to roughly $751.97 for those 65 to 74 and $827.17 for those 75 and up. GIS also increased by that same 1.2%, but your actual GIS amount has now been reset based on your 2025 tax return, so your payment could look quite different than it did last month, regardless of the rate increase. The OAS clawback threshold for this cycle sits around $93,454 of net income, and every dollar above that costs you 15 cents of OAS. And CPP has now fully phased in its enhancement, meaning the plan is built to replace more of your working income than ever before, with a maximum monthly payment around $1,507.65 for those retiring at 65 this year. If this video helped clear things up, do me a favor and subscribe, because these numbers shift every quarter, and I break down every single change as soon as it's confirmed. Drop a comment and tell me which of these updates affects you the most, whether it's the GIS reset, the clawback, or the CPP milestone. I read every comment and it helps me know what to cover next. This has been Frank Canada Today. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.